Hello and welcome. My name is Josh and I am one of the guys behind Reload Sessions. Now here in Reload Sessions we film and record upcoming artists and they perform acoustic sessions for us. Now we want to create a new series where we interview successful people in the music industry, get to understand where they came from, get an insight into their career and any advice they can give along the way. So this time I managed to get on a phone call with Andrew Rose. Andrew Rose classed himself as a director, producer, cinematographer and editor, and he's mostly known for being Tori Kelly's personal videographer. Now Andrew Rose is a busy man, and as I mentioned, I managed to get him on the phone and have a conversation with him. It was really interesting. We went into his career, where he started off, how he met all of these different YouTubers, started off working with Gabe Bonduck, then to Jeremy Passion, then it grew and met us, the duo, Keena Granis, and eventually Tori Kelly. In this conversation he talks about some really great insightful stuff about his career and the stuff he's learned along the way. So sit back, relax and enjoy.
I wanna begin again.
Okay, Andrew Rose, welcome. Good to have you. Good to hear from you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
How long? Well, so where was the first time we met? I've known you for quite a while.
We met the first time in London, when our mutual friend Jeremy Passion brought us out.
Yes.
Or brought me out to record some video footage for his YouTube channel. He was working on a project at the time that he needed some help shooting, and so he brought me out to London and met you guys. So.
I remember Jeremy always said great things about you, and I would like to think that he said great things about us. So
yeah,
it was something we were looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah, it was great. No, it was actually the first time for me to go to Europe as well. So that for me was more than just a gig. It was like, you know, a place that you never, I don't know, it's strange. Also for Americans, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily leave a bubble or introduce themselves to a new place that they weren't kind of like actively trying to. I don't know, it's hard. Like a lot of people stay closer to home here, and that might be a lot of the world too, but I didn't have too big of an intention to go to Europe at the time, and then because it was for a gig and I had to go, it was exciting, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't on the top of my list. So when I got out there, it was basically the gateway drug of being like, all right, I got to go see all of the things now.
Yeah, because from what I know from you now, you're like a travel bug. You just go all over the place.
And, you know, arguably that could have been the start of it. So.
Yeah, it could have been. Well, I'm glad that Jeremy brought you down, because it was the start of a great relationship with you. We've worked with you a few times. We recorded, well, I wasn't there for that shoot, but you recorded Bluey Robinson, Jeremy Passion, and Jackie D. Williams. We went to Italy together to do a little trip.
We did. We went to Milan. We went to the Alps. We went to a couple days in the Alps.
That is brilliant. So for the people who don't know who you are, apparently you title yourself as a director, producer, cinematographer, and editor. What exactly do you do?
Well, it's hard to describe because my profession didn't quite exist just a few years ago. I think it all kind of started with the infancy of YouTube, and for the most part, I would just call myself, if you want to talk about musical puns and whatnot, it's a one-man band. You kind of do it all, so you can write, shoot, edit, submit, market, and, you know, the whole deal. So it's, for me, I would get a gig because you only had to hire me, and you didn't have to worry about too many moving pieces, where the traditional Hollywood industry is very like, you hire someone to shoot this and you hire someone to edit this, and then you get a whole separate team to market it, and there's just a lot of moving pieces and a lot of money and a lot of things that can potentially go wrong, because who knows if everyone's going to work out. So if you can rely on one person to kind of do all of that, maybe not as best as if you had a division for each of those things, but that could just kind of handle it, then a lot more clients are comfortable with just hiring one thing because they're already used to it. So that for me happened because of YouTube, because YouTube opened up the door for anyone to kind of just do their own thing with the camera that they got and post whatever they want, and it was free platform, and you know. So.
Yeah, and that's when I actually came across your work. It was watching videos. I remember your name popped up whenever I would watch videos of Jenny Suk or AJ Raphael or Jeremy Passion or Melissa Polina, and you worked with a lot of the YouTubers the first few years of your career. Can you talk about how many YouTubers did you work with, and how did you actually get to know all of them?
Man, I don't know how many, but a good amount, and it all. The first YouTuber I ever worked with his name is Gabe Bondog. He's from the Bay Area, and he was doing a show at my school at the time. I went to San Francisco State University for college, and he was doing a show there. A friend of mine knew that I did video and asked me if I could help shoot the show. I shot the show with a friend, and after the show, we went up to his manager and said, hey, we're a media team, which we weren't. We were just saying that we're a media team. And he's like, hey, we're a media team, video production company that can shoot your videos if you want. And from there, we shot his videos for 6 months. And from there, I met a couple of friends that he toured with in a college kind of a circuit. They called themselves GLP at the time: Gabe, Lee J. Passion, Gabe Bondoc, Lee J. Abukayan, and Jeremy Passion. So those three would tour a lot of college towns, performing their own instruments, whether it be beatboxing or guitars or piano or singing or whatever. And so those are the three guys I met first. They're all great guys still. And Lee J, Jeremy, I hang out with still. And so from there, I met Jeremy Passion, who was kind of a great singer-songwriter out of San Francisco. He also had a great hub. He had a friend in LA his name is AJ Raphael, and AJ kind of knew everyone in the Southern California hub of things. So now I'm working with Bay Area YouTubers and Southern California YouTubers, and from there, if you were good on YouTube, you probably knew each other. It was, at the time, it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. There wasn't that many things on YouTube, so people that made quality content just ended up being friends, and so we all just hang out. And then all of a sudden, over time, we realized, it's like, hey, you can sing, and hey, you can do video. Hey, we could make videos together. Hey, we could make a living off of this. So it kind of evolved into that, and so far it's doing all right. So
well, that's amazing. I didn't actually know that was the beginning, that it just started off as just someone asking if you can just film something.
Yeah, it was really out of the
multimedia group you said that you had, which you faked you had, was that Square Marden? Because I know you created a group.
It actually ended up, ironically, becoming a video production company with the people that I met through that connection that we made up. So there's pretty good irony there.
And Square Marden was, it consisted of you.
Lee J actually was in it. So one of the guys I met through Gabe, Lee J, he became part of that, and then our 2 other film friends, Richard and Tossie. So it was just us 4. Started out making just stupid, funny videos in our free time, and then we would do other gigs if we needed to, and from tour documentaries to weddings or whatever. We just, we had a good time just making things. So we would participate in things called the 48-hour film project, a good amount of time, where you have 2 days to write, shoot, and edit and submit a 4 to 7 minute film.
Oh, that's amazing! What a brilliant concept.
Yeah, it's great, and for us it was practice. For me it was practice. I was like, if I could do this in 2 days, and I get a week to do an actual professional gig in LA, and they'd be like, can you do this in a week? He's like, yeah, I could do that in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it was great, and we do that every once in a while just for fun. So.
Oh, okay. I thought Square Marden was no longer active anymore.
We haven't. When I moved to LA, which was about 4 years ago now, we all kind of went separate ways. We all still hang out, but a couple of the other guys had other obligations or job opportunities and whatnot. So that worked out for them, and I continued to do film, and I moved to LA, and doing my thing there. So.
Oh, that's great. I know. You said that 5 years ago you ended up working with a lot of these YouTubers, and now if you look at them where they are, like Us the Duo, Keena Grannis, Tori Kelly, all of them have blown up, and you ended up getting the gig for being Tori Kelly's personal videographer. And how did that happen?
So I started working with Tori. I can't remember. I think it's 5 years ago. We were trying to calculate how far back it was, and I think it was about 5 years ago. And we just made a video together. I can't remember how we first got connected. I think her mom reached out to me and said, let's try and Tori's got an original song and let's try and make a video out of it. And we decided to shoot one day, and then we just continued working together ever since. So it was pretty cool how it kind of worked out. We got along really well, and I think our creative palette, they kind of worked with each other. So it worked out, and it's been going great ever since. So.
Well, that's great, because I know we are big fans of Tori Kelly, and we've been following her journey since the beginning. And it's great to see her where she is, and it's great to see that you're a part of the whole ride as well. So you started off talking to YouTube, started off being friends with Gabe Bundock, and then you met all these other people, and then you found out YouTubers were all connected and all of that. But where did it all begin with you picking up the camera and saying, "Hey, I want to do this as a career"? Or was it even a thing that, because you didn't even realize or know that YouTube would be what it is today? So did you think that you would ever pick up that camera and do this as a living?
Yeah, I got really lucky and wanted to do this early. I knew since 7th grade when my dad had a over-the-shoulder VHS camcorder.
Wow.
Home movies type stuff, and I would always be just interested in it. I would mess with it and whatnot. And ever since like 7th grade, I would use it with friends and make stupid videos, and we'd be editing on the tape. We'd be rewinding and hitting record, and like really old school type of stuff, and we would just make stupid stuff, and we had fun doing it, and it wasn't perfect, and our edits were horrible, and we didn't care. It was so for me, that's how I kind of grew up with. I had that a lot, and then but I mean, the long story short is I wanted to do narratives and features and storytelling and stuff like that. That was the whole world, and it still is. I still want to do that, but in high school, there's something called homeroom. I don't know if you guys have homeroom. Homeroom is like when the time of the day when the announcements happen.
Okay.
And no one listened to the announcements. That's just part of the deal. But so I had an announcement once that went on, and no one listened to my announcement. So I was kind of like, come on, guys, how am I going to get you to listen to this? And there was a TV in every classroom. So I figured if the TV was on, regardless of how quality or whatever it was, that they would listen. So we started a closed circuit television show, and it ran live once every other day, and we were just giving it a shot. It was literally doing the same thing that we were doing. Someone standing in front of a camera with a microphone doing the announcements, and and everyone was paid attention to it. And that was halfway through high school, and by the time I graduated, the school invested a few $1 million to build an actual TV studio in there.
Oh, wow.
And they had camera equipment that rivaled local television stations. So if I go back to that, I've gone back to that high school to speak before, and they are full on live every day or every other day, and they've evolved it into a straight TV show, and they'll do little segments and skits and things like that.
That's amazing.
And so I thought that was really cool, and so I did that in high school, and I was like, I don't want to say a cocky attitude about it, but but basically, if you wanted to be on TV, it was kind of like you had to talk to me or someone that was in that TV program or something like that. And I would, never be in class, and that's a lie. I was in class, but I had a parking spot, and teachers didn't even really have a parking spot. It was one of those weird experiences in high school where it's just like, okay, this is what it feels like to run a movie studio or something like that. You kind of just oversight now, and you're in charge of making sure that the show goes on, which is great. I had a good time doing it. And then I went to college. I graduated high school, and then I went to San Francisco State, and I took a film program there, and no one knew who I was. And it was a perfect slap in the face to be like, you can't think, no one knows who you are, and you make your own name. Do what you want and make your own name. So I took a film program. I doubled in business because as someone that's scared with anyone in the arts, you're kind of scared that you're probably not going to succeed in the arts.
Of course.
So business was my fallback plan. just in case it didn't work out. And ironically, I started my own business in film, which I used all of the things that I needed. But I hated college. I hated the film program. It wasn't good. I touched the camera twice in 4 years. It was a theory school. It was a school that said watch Hitchcock movies and make movies like this. And I was so not having it. I hated it. I was never, it was not good. And maybe they're smarter than me about it, but they basically enraged me. They said they were doing everything wrong. I was just like, oh, this is so bad. I'm gonna go do it myself. And I basically went to go do it myself, and it worked out. Not too far later. So that's kind of how it sparked that drive to go make that media production company and kind of go move out on my own and get to LA and actually make that film thing happen instead of just some hobby at that point, I guess.
Wow, it's very brave of you to be doing. At what age were you when you started doing all of this?
Well, throughout high school.
And what age is that?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. There's probably
you're
like
definitely in your teens.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you for sure. But it was early, and a lot of people still don't know what they want to do today. And I'm 28 now, so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know for me personally, I'm a firm believer of experience over like certification and stuff like that. And what you said there was pretty much like you saying, I'm just screw it. You did do your course, you did go to do your film school and all of that, but you were like, screw it, I'm gonna go into the real world and just start creating content, which you did, and it pretty much worked out in the end.
Yeah, the big line that I would say to a lot of people is you're going to always learn more outside of a class. Okay, that not always. You're going to learn, but I always say you're going to learn more outside of a classroom than you're going to learn in one.
Yeah.
If you're just doing it, then you when you have to do it. It's same with a language. If you're trying to learn a language, go throw yourself. If you want to learn French, go throw yourself in France.
Yeah, that's great.
You
advice.
Actually have to do it, and so that's kind of the same thing. You hear all these success stories about people just picking their bags up and moving out to Hollywood and living out of their car, and that sounds very weird, traditional, and cliche a little bit, but it's true. It works because you had to do it. You had to figure out how to survive. You had to do it. So I mean, the fact that I think it was 4 days before I moved to LA, I didn't know I was moving to LA. I picked up my bag. It was a very cliche. Picked up my bags and found a really cheap place to live in a not so nice area in LA, but it was going to be enough to get me down there. And once I'm there, then I could finally get the gigs that I want. So once I moved there, then it was great, because the next thing after the excitement when honeymoon phase wore off was, crap, how am I going to pay to stay here?
Yeah.
And so that was a big push that you had. Going home was a failure in my mind. I didn't want to go home. So you make it work, and I started making dance videos. I would shoot. I was living in an area called North Hollywood, and all the dancers live there, and they practice in their studios there because they get booked for auditions, and they get to go on the Beyonce tour if they book the gig. So things like that.
Yeah.
So they needed quality content. They didn't have it, and I said I could make music video quality content in a dance video. So we started me and probably I'd say maybe about a handful of other people changed the landscape of what was required for a dance video. It's now a dance music video with full production, quicker cuts, and it changed things. And I don't know if necessarily it was a good thing, because now it feels like you have to do that in order to.
That's the standard, right?
And that's the same with music covers. So music covers, I would make music stuff for cover videos, or someone that would normally just do it with a guitar and a webcam. Now I can bring a couple of camera setup in there, and I could up and some lights and bring up nice microphones, up the quality of the video, make it into more of a music video or something, more appealing to the eye. So that also changed the landscape of what was required to what you have to do now. It feels like that you have to do that now, and now it's evolved to a level in the music world where you feels like you have to track it first.
Yeah.
And you gotta lip sync it and make it look all nice and pretty after that. So I'm not the biggest fan of that anymore, because it feels like it's very hard to tell what was talent and what was just production that took a long time. Because I could make an amazing song if you give me like a couple of weeks. So I don't know. It's someone that can just do it. Like I always say, Tori, I can make a full-on big production and multi-camera setup with $70,000 cameras and lighting gear and crew. But she could equally just open up the laptop with the little crappy webcam and pull out her guitar and that arguably gets more views every time.
Yeah, it does.
It's content is king. Content is always going to be king.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you can know that the content is good, and you can also up the production quality value. So that's kind of where I come in.
Okay, so with the Tori Kelly gig, would you say that's one of your biggest gigs ever, or do you have other gigs right now that's coming up that you think?
Tori is definitely probably the biggest recurring gig I've ever had, because we've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah,
and we've got to go on tours in the UK and all over North America, and hopefully who knows where next. But I think it's definitely the biggest, in the sense that the people that I've run into, the people that she gets to work with, and the people that I'm lucky enough to be in the room to see, it's amazing. So yeah, I work with other things too, and bigger company, like more corporate stuff. Like I've done stuff for companies and other genres of the world. But in the music world, Tori is definitely. Sure. I have the best time working with Tori. Well, I work with a lot of people in the music industry, but I think I have the most fun making something with Tori, just because it's I think we're just on the same page, and I think we don't have to jump through a lot of hoops. I think we're in a perfect position to just create things. Things that we want, opposed to things that we're told to make. So it's nice.
Well, I remember when we were hanging out with you one time, and you showed me backstage, behind the scenes footage of Tori in the studio with Pharrell and Diplo. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I was like, whoa, man, she's going places. And that's so cool that you were able just to be in that room and experience all of that.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've also learned a lot about me and what I like in my world. That I like being a fly on the wall. I like capturing live moments, candid moments, not staged. I really like that world. I know it only happens once. So there's something exciting for me about capturing something that's happening in real time. For me, studio setting type stuff is cool, but I'm not the best at it. I probably would say I definitely could do it. I just don't think I have that much fun doing it when it's a controlled environment and you can redo something 17 times, and then now I got 17 takes of something that I got to choose from. Yeah. Whereas in real life, it happened once, and that's the one you use. So
yeah. That's quite interesting that you say that, because I know earlier on you were saying that you wanted to get into like movie productions and scripting and all of that, but now you've transitioned to becoming that fly in the wall videographer.
Yeah, that's a whole other spectrum of things. Yeah. And I still, that's for storytelling and features and even short films, just anything narratives, that's part of the deal, is setting something up and telling a story and doing it multiple times, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, because I know that that's what those things are required of. But I do like the other side of it too, the documentary, real life, who knows what's going to happen and where this is going to go type thing. Yeah. Sometimes that's exciting too. So. That's
cool. All right, so moving on. I know you said that you've toured around with Tori Kelly, going around the world. How is tour life, being a videographer?
Man, tour life in general, regardless if I'm a videographer or anyone on that bus, it is a world that is very hard to describe and understand and really comprehend unless you actually do it. Yeah. It's probably the most fun that any of us have ever had. It's probably also the most exhausted that we've ever been. So it's a lot, but it's been a lot of fun. And you have your ups and downs on tours. Some tours are better than others. It's all about the people that you're with on tour. So we've been on a lot of tours where I feel like we've weeded out. I don't know how to. I think we've gotten rid of a lot of things that just didn't mesh that well. It wasn't
Sure.
like we'd have plenty of people on tour that were great at their job, but they just didn't quite fit with the camp that
Sure.
we were working with at the moment. So so that's a hard thing, because you can do a job application and meet someone, and but how do you know you're gonna be okay with someone for 2 months on
Of
the
course.
road in a bus in close quarters every day? So it's an interesting process, and I think we've done enough tours where I think the people that are on the tours now are great friends. And I think this past tour that we just finished, which was 2 months, which is scary to think about, being in the
Yeah.
same bus with 8 to 12 people on for that long can, no matter how good of a friend you are, can get kind of scary. So I'm so happy that we had the best time and we never had a problem, and it was great. And I'm on the bus with Tori, me, Kamari, who is Tori, and it's just us creatives on a bus having a blast. And I think that's why it worked out, because we all got along. We're all really good friends, and it worked out.
Well, that's
So-
brilliant. So you just came off that tour now. Now you've moved in and transitioned to doing your own events around America right now. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Called Coffee and Camera Tour.
Coffee and cameras. Yeah, I'm on currently in the well, I just about 2 shows in of 12, so
Mhm.
got 10 more to go. It's shows. It's not a show. It's basically what we're doing right now. So people could sign up. People that are interested in maybe this world a little bit, and we'll grab coffee. We'll talk about my background, what I do, how I got there,
Mhm.
and basically to show that someone that might be interested in that world, that it's possible. You can do it yourself. I run my own. I work for myself. I set my own hours. I take my own clients. I could say yes or no to whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I think people think it's so hard to do, and it's definitely not easy. But I think people think it's impossible. So I think I wanted to do this to show you that you can,
Yeah, definitely.
and also teach you about your camera. I go to all these shows. Let's use Tori shows, for example. At every show, I'm at a Tori show, and I see someone with a fancy camera. Like, just cameras are not expensive anymore.
Mhm.
You can get a really nice, high quality camera for cheap.
Yeah.
So these people have great cameras and never turn it off auto.
Yeah. That's
And
funny,
so,
right?
And I see someone sitting in row 67 trying to take a picture of the stage, and the flash goes off, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna come out. And it's just little things like that. And a lot of people also asked me about a lot of advice, whether about my background or how to use cameras or what can I do better, anything to do with my world. And I didn't have the time to talk about it.
Mhm.
On tour. It was you don't have any time to yourself. So I felt kind of bad that I wasn't able to kind of say more. And so here is an opportunity for people that were interested, and I can give you all the time that you want and tell you about anything that you want to hear about.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, the final tour is in September, and you arrive in London. Am I correct?
That's right. Finishing it in London. I think that's the plan. I might add a date or something, but,
Okay.
but definitely going to be in London for that
And
time.
And where can people find all this information if they can see if you're coming to their state or to
It's
their
just
country?
social media stuff. So Instagram and Twitter is the only places I have it for the link that you can get it.
Sure.
Yeah, if someone wants to go, they're not that big groups. I mean, I got 10 people at this last one, and they could bring a friend. So there was about 20 people, about
That's
18,
brilliant,
20 people
though.
there. It's great. It's just it's a lot of people when you're trying to do one-on-one stuff.
Of course.
When you really want to help someone with a camera, 20 people is a lot of people. So I'm usually capping it at about 10 tickets sold, and each person that with a ticket can bring a friend.
Mhm.
So as long as I'm not trying to make it. I'm actually really not trying to make money. As long as I can break even, then I'm going to be all right.
Sure.
But it's really for me to go around, and on my end, I get to travel and see other towns and eat all the foods, and on their end, they get to hopefully learn something. that they hopefully want to learn about. So
That's great. I mean, I remember we talked about this idea when you were in London a month ago, and I was like, yeah, go for it, do it. And I remember saying that we will happily try and help you organize the one in London, but apparently you sorted it out yourself, which is great.
no, I mean it's great. I definitely could use the help. I just can't think about that's 10 shows away. So.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so you give people advice in that show and all of that stuff. What advice can you give to people listening in now to let's make it more generic, so not just for videographers, but because we are a channel for upcoming artists. What can you what kind of advice can you give to people creating content, people creating content and wanting to see their content and creating a brand around themselves?
I think the most important thing that any creative type, whether it doesn't matter what field or genre you're in, I think it's most important for them to understand that they can influence so much more than they think that they can. Yeah. There's a lot of references that I could reference, a lot of Steve Jobs stuff. Like, Steve was always big on, he's done a lot of speeches where he would say, like, Stanford, if you ever get to watch the Steve Jobs Stanford 2005, I think it was 2005.
That. Yes.
Yeah. And so he was talking about something about, he only went to college for like a semester or something like that. And took a calligraphy class, and he just needed the units basically, and ended up dropping out, and moved on and tried to figure out what he wanted to do with his life, and had a pretty up and down different path. And he eventually, just fast forward to a lot of years later, he started Apple, and they're creating an operating system that needs fonts. And what did he do? He took a calligraphy class.
Yeah.
And he basically some of the very first times that you can change a font in a word processing system was created because he just happened to take a calligraphy class. So he said you can't connect the dots looking forward, only backwards. I think that's completely true in a situation for anyone when you have no idea how what you're doing right now is going to affect what's going to happen to you a year from now. So keep doing whatever the heck you're doing. As long as you're on the right positive trajectory, you have no idea how this is going to influence the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That for me was huge, and I've never forgotten it, because I have no idea what my next year looks like.
Yeah.
And it could be completely different than this year, which last year was completely different than this year, and the year before that as well. So I think as long as you're on a positive forward trajectory towards something that you are interested in, that you want to do for the rest of your life, like, my biggest thing that I can say to someone is also, what would you pay to do? Well, opposed to getting paid to do something, what would you pay to do? And that's a strange way to look at it. But, like, for example, I want to be a pilot. I want to pay to get my pilot's license, and I want to fly around for fun as a hobby. For me, that sounds fun. My dad was a pilot. I think it would be cool for me to be a pilot just for fun. And I would pay to do that. So if I got paid to be a pilot, like flying around maybe a corporate private jet or something like that, I think that would be an okay profession. I'm doing film right now, and I would probably pay to do this. But there's other things that as long as you find something that you're good at, and if you can pass the test of you like it so much that you would pay to do this, then I think it's something pursuing. And if you can figure out how to get paid to do it, then you're set, and that's the way to go.
Man, that's some wise words, Andrew.
So that's well, thank you. But
that's really fascinating. I can talk to you about that very subject for hours.
Yeah, and the last one that I think I just thought about it right now, but it's also another, because I brought up Steve Jobs. So he said another thing. It was just in an interview. He was talking to a webcam a long time ago. I think it's public. It's on the outside. I think it's online somewhere. But he was basically just talking about the times that he basically, the moments that when he realized that he can push something in here and something will pop out over there. The moment that he realized that he could influence and change something was a huge deal. I think that is really important too. Think of a musician that's writing a song. You have no idea what this song is going to mean to someone, how differently that's going to affect their life than how it had affected yours. So that's just one example. Like for me, I want storytelling to be a big part of my life. I want to be able to write a story and be able to hopefully send a positive message and have someone leave a theater or something like that, being like, wow, I never thought about things like that. And
Yeah.
that would have never crossed my mind if I didn't see it this way. Like, for me, that's exciting. Also, you have kind of a little bit of control over people. Like think of the things that you could influence people. Like, here's a very short, little, tiny story that I can't really name too many names, but I'm in a room with a bunch of awesome people, and they're talking about the origins of swag, the word swag,
Yeah.
which is so stupid, but hear me out. It was a choice that word became something.
Mhm.
Swag in the UK means not good things, right?
No, I think we've adopted the word swag, the American term swag.
I heard someone from the UK told me that he said that if your shoes were swag, that means they didn't look good. Does that make any sense?
That's got to be like something from maybe the 50s or something.
Okay.
I'm not too sure. I've never heard of that.
Well, basically, swag in the US and probably most of the world, it meant free stuff.
Yes.
A swag bag and all that stuff. You go to an event, you get a swag bag, you get free stuff. That's what swag meant. Now all of a sudden, it was Justin Bieber does a Ryan Seacrest interview, and after the interview's over, Ryan says to Justin, he's like, all right, thanks, Justin. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next time. And Justin walks out saying, cool, swag. And for like the next 10 minutes, they're trying to figure out what the heck you just said. and it was just a lot of the fact, and then Soulja Boy started putting in songs, and then it started catching on. But basically what that little tiny story basically taught me in particular that if you have enough of an influence, you can change a nation, regardless of the content. So that happened to be a word.
Yeah.
But let's say that we want to change an idea. Well, there's a nation that you could change if you have enough of an influence, and I think that's the craziest. I think that for me, that's the craziest thing. The fact that I can make something and it can influence and change a mindset of people, not just a person. And that's crazy. So that's how music is today, and that's why Adele can go away for 3 years and come back and make everyone cry all over again.
So true.
So,
I remember hearing a line somewhere. It was to influence. What was it? A great leader is someone of influence, and someone who can. Its influence is so important. If you can persuade and dictate people and tell people what to do, then the world is your oyster.
Scary. It's true, but it's a scary thing too, because there's a lot of people that could influence things the absolute wrong way.
Definitely.
Influence is powerful, and people are fairly gullible to a lot of ideas that might not be the best ones.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
A popular idea doesn't mean it's the best idea. So yeah, that's kind of where I really want to make sure that if I ever do create some sort of an influence or breed an idea, then it would be something for a good thing, and hopefully create and send a positive message out to whatever it might be. So,
brilliant.
Because there's a really easy way to go the other way. I mean, I can just look at the music industry right now. It's so bad. It's not all bad, but but just mainstream pop culture top 7 songs on the radio is the same 4 chords, and it's the same. I could probably the same lyrics in different order.
Yeah.
So with the same cadence and delivery. It's the same songs, just with a little bit of, so it's a different thing, and the things that they're talking about are not that great. So it's just it's an interesting place right now. So I think it's always good to have people like Tori, for example, especially always creating a positive message.
Yes,
so I think it's so important to make sure that the people that have a positive message, that are trying to make sure to keep a positive message out there, keep continuing to do that, because I think it's so hard to keep people like that alive in an industry where the opposite is sexy. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I have 2 more questions for you, if you have time.
Sure.
One being, I'm sure in your journey you've made mistakes, and problems came along the way. What mistakes did you make, and what did you learn anything from them?
I think mistakes. I think I don't use the word mistakes much.
Okay.
Everything that I do, regardless of how it went and how the outcome went, helps me in one way or another. And if a gig didn't happen and I did something wrong in terms of maybe a budgeting or negotiation process and it didn't come out, then I believe that that wasn't meant to be. And I
Yeah.
learned something from that, and I'm going to do better when I work on the next gig. So mistakes, I'm not sure. No, I can't think of anything that I've done wrong.
It's just all learning.
It's learning to me.
Yeah, exactly.
There's plenty of things that didn't go well.
Yeah.
But I use them all to my advantage, and I think that that's hopefully how people do that for the most part.
Well, that's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah. So.
Well, I like that. I like that answer. Okay, so this last question stems from a question that I asked Ebony, because when I first wanted to create this series, this pod type cast, whatever you were calling it, not too sure yet, it's still in its infancy. I was like, I want to interview successful people around the music industry, and she replied saying, I don't think I'm successful. And I was like, from the outside looking in, you have X amount of followers on all your social media platforms, and you have a career just being a YouTuber. It looks like, you are successful. So when I asked her what is a successful artist, she still thought she wasn't a successful one. But seeing how you see Tori Kelly and all these other artists, and they're doing great stuff, what do you think is a successful artist?
I think a successful artist is an artist who is okay with however he or she wants to be. Like, it's completely different for everyone. So
of course,
some people's goals are to hit the top 10 on the radio, to hit number 1 on the radio. That's someone's goals, and they don't care how to sacrifice their sound or creativity. They want to hit number 1. That's their plan.
Yeah.
That's some people, and when they hit number 1, then I would say that's a success. Some people call it failure because they gave up on their creativity. But I don't believe that. I think everyone is for themselves, and I think that whatever you want is the most important. So you could look at Avril Lavigne or Hayley Williams, or Hayley's a good example of she's the lead singer of Paramore, and Paramore is great, and they still tour and they still do shows, and but she also was featured on a Zedd song that did really well, and so a lot of people are like, oh god, she sold out, she's all this crap, and it's like, no, that's probably one of the smartest business moves she could have made as a businesswoman. She's not just an artist, she's a businesswoman. That's how it is in Hollywood. And she probably made more money off of that one song than she did ever making it in Paramore. Yeah. And I don't think it's selling out, because she's still doing Paramore. It's not like she's, that's an example of, like, she's successful because she's doing whatever the heck she wants to do and trying new things and not afraid to try new things. Yeah. There's a lot of other people like Avril who Avril, I don't know much about what she's doing today, but or JoJo or things like that, where it's like, hang on one second.
Sure.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So there's just a lot of other artists that went away, and on purpose, because they didn't want the media spotlight. They didn't want this crazy, because I think a lot of people don't realize what it really takes to live as a celebrity. And I've seen it enough, and I know enough people around me that have it to know that I don't want it. And it's tough not being able to hang out with your friend at food because they keep getting bombarded for pictures. That's not a life I want. Of course. And Ed Sheeran's another one. He disappeared. I don't know if he's back yet, but December of 2015, he posted I'm going away. Yeah. And he did, and I think that's the coolest thing, because he's successful because he's able to sell out Wembley and do amazing things worldwide with a guy and a guitar. And for me, that's success. And he didn't need anything else. He didn't have to sacrifice something. I think he did some great things, and he wanted to take a break. So who's to stop him? I mean, like, a lot of people can say, oh, he's going to go away, he's never going to be able to come back. I'm like, no, he could do whatever he wants because he's happy with what he's doing. I think that's what a lot of artists aren't happy with right now, is because they're trying to conform to something that they're told to do.
Yeah.
And that's not the right way to go about it. Whatever you want to do, and whatever your goal is, I think is the most important. And there are a lot of things and a lot of hardships to try and figure out how to get to those goals. It's hard to get on the radio for sure, but you know, you got to really analyze yourself and figure out if that's really what you want. Because a lot of people, once you get there and once you see it and experience that world, you can realize that you don't want it, and that you would be much happier underground or doing, you know, smaller shows and just having loyal fans that appreciate the music instead of fans that only care to be there to take an Instagram picture.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So you really just got to analyze yourself, figure out what you want, and if you could figure out how to attain that without having to conform to too much, then that's success to me.
That's brilliant. What a great answer, man. Andrew, you have some wise work. Oh wow, I'm amazed.
I'm just making it up as I go. So.
Well, they say fake it till you make it, right? So you're doing a great job. Well, no, that's brilliant. So you have a Coffee and Cameras tour, which will be ending in London, hopefully, in September the 10th.
Yeah. I believe it's like September 10th or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And you're going to Toronto. Wow, you're going to Toronto, Los Angeles, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, Atlanta, Nashville, Dallas, Orlando. And for everyone else to keep up with all the information about this, they just go to your Twitter.
Twitter's good. Instagram's good. Instagram I use a lot more. Instagram is just Andrew Rose.
Brilliant.
So.
Sweet. And that's the Instagram account where you don't follow anyone.
That is true.
I remember talking to you about this. That's brilliant. That's success right there. You can follow anyone you want, and no one, and you don't need to care about anything else. Anyway, Andrew, I need to leave you because I know you're the busiest man, one of the busiest men I know, and you have stuff to do.
Worries.
Thank you for your time, and thank you so much for doing all of this.
Anytime, man. I'm glad to be able to. Glad you're doing it, and hopefully I was able to help.
No, definitely. I can't wait to see you when you come down in September. Definitely let us know when you are coming down, and we'll definitely hang out.
Yeah, man, for sure. Best of luck with everything you got coming up too, and we'll hang out in a few months.
Definitely, Andrew, my friend. You take care.
You too, man. I'll see you.
See you later.
Bye.
I'm gonna be busy, baby.
And so that was the conversation I had with Andrew Rose. I hope that inspired you to just create content and go for it. If there are any other people who you'd like me to interview, just send me a message and I'll make it work. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.